Welcome to a House of Dice Warmachine Hordes battle report. Today we have Protectorate of Menoth vs Circle Orboros. Today's game is actually going to be a practice game where I'm going to be controlling both armies. I've just started playing Menoth and I really wanted to take the time to learn the army, so I've decided in this format I'll actually be able to stop, pause, and think without the pressure of an opponent waiting for my action. So really I wanted to take the time to see just what they're capable of. And back in Mark II, I'd played Circle quite a bit. I really enjoyed K2's playstyle, and I wanted to see how well that translated into Mark III. So with that, let's check out the lists and get a quick peek at the battlefield. Menoth is led by High Exemplar Krios. In his battle group is a Crusader, a Revenger, and a Repenter. A unit of Exemplar Incinerators joins them. Circle is led by Kea the Moonhunter, and in her battle group is Laris, a Feral Warpwolf, and a Wild Argus. Warpborn Skinwalkers round out the rest of the list. The buildings and stone walls all provide cover, while the bushes provide concealment. Now we'll see who goes first. Circle is the gold die, and Menoth is the black die. Circle wins the roll and decides to go first. Circle deployment. Kea deploys the Feral Warpwolf to the left. Laris, the Wild Argus, and the Skinwalkers are on her right. Protectorate of Menoth deployment. Krios deploys the Revenger and the Crusader in a front line with the Exemplar Incinerators, with the Repenter beside him a few inches behind. Circle Orboros, turn 1. Laris activates first and runs 14 inches up the middle of the board, generating 1 Fury. Kea activates next and spends 2 Fury to cast Force Evolution onto the Feral, giving it a Strength and Defense bonus. She then spends 2 Fury to use Laris' Animus Spirit Shift to teleport up to him. She drops the remaining 2 Fury. The Feral warps speed. It riles for 2 Fury and is forced to run 16 inches up to the rock wall for 1 Fury. The Argus riles for 1 Fury and runs up the right side of the board. The Warpborn Skinwalkers run 10 inches up the right side of the board and get around the bushes. Protectorate of Menoth, turn 1. Krios keeps all 7 focus on himself. The Warjacks each gain a focus due to power up. The Crusader spends a focus and runs up 8 inches behind the bushes and gains concealment, but also blocking the charge lane from the Feral. The Incinerators run up 8 inches and spread out, attempting to block any charge lanes to the rest of the army. The Revenger runs up beside the bush for 1 focus. Krios activates and advances up 5 inches. He spends 3 focus to cast Defender's Ward on the Revenger, giving him a defense and armor bonus. He then arcs Immolation for 2 focus through the Revenger onto the Feral. He needs a 9 to hit and boosts the attack. The attack misses. The Repenter spends a focus to run up 10 inches and stops behind the Revenger. Circle Orboros, turn 2. Kea leeches 2 Fury from the Argus, 1 Fury from Laris, and 3 from the Feral. She then upkeeps Forced Evolution for 1 Fury. Kea activates first and moves up 5 inches and casts her feat Call of the Hunt, which allows beasts in her battle group to be forced outside of her control range, and at the end of their activation they can teleport back to her. She then spends 3 Fury to cast Shadow Pack, which gives her battle group stealth. She targets Incinerator with Dogpile for 2 Fury. She needs a 5 to hit. She rolls a 7 and hits the Incinerator, doing no damage, but giving any beasts a free charge and a movement bonus against the warrior. The Feral warps Strength and targets the Incinerator with Dogpile. He needs a 5 to hit. Rolling an 11, the attack hits, and due to Forced Evolution, the attack hits at dice plus 2. He rolls a 13 and kills the Exemplar. The Warpwolf attacks the Incinerator beside him with his Claw attack. He rolls a 6 and the attack hits. For damage, he rolls an 8 and kills the Incinerator. He then riles for 3 and teleports back to Kea. Laris activates and is forced to charge the Revenger. He needs a 7 to hit and boosts the attack roll. He rolls an 8 and the attack hits. Due to Defender's Ward, the attack is dice minus 9, so he boosts the attack. The Wolf rolls 14 and does 5 damage to column 2 of the Revenger. Laris is then repulsed back 1 inch due to their shield. He teleports back to Kea. The Argus advances up 6 inches. The Skinwalkers run 10 inches up the right side of the table. Protectorate of Menoth, turn 2. The remaining Incinerator gets to move 3 inches due to Vengeance. Krios upkeeps Defender's Ward and gives 2 focus to both the Revenger and the Repenter. The Repenter moves past the Incinerator and shoots at the Skinwalker with his flamethrower. It needs a 7 to hit and boosts the attack for 1 focus. Rolling an 8, the attack hits. Boosting the damage, the attack hits at dice minus 4. He rolls a 15 and the Skinwalker is killed. The Revenger charges the Feral for 1 focus, and due to Forced Evolution and Powerful Charge, the Revenger needs an 8 to hit. It spends a focus to boost. The attack hits and is boosted due to the charge. It hits at dice minus 4. He rolls a 12 and does 8 damage to Spiral 2 of the Feral. The Revenger attacks with his shield and boosts to hit, needing a 10. It rolls a 12 and the attack hits. The shield hits at dice minus 5. It rolls a 10 and does 5 damage to Spiral 6 of the Warpwolf, and knocks the Feral back an inch. The Incinerator runs up 8 inches towards the clock tower. The Crusader spends a focus and runs around the bushes towards the Feral. Krios advances up 5 inches behind the bush and spends 2 focus to arc Immolation through the Revenger to the Feral. Because of Forced Evolution, he needs a 9 to hit. He rolls a 6 and the attack misses. Circle Orboros, turn 3. Kea leeches 3 Fury from Laris and 3 Fury from the Feral. She then spends 1 Fury to upkeep Forced Evolution. The Feral activates first and warps Strength. He advances forward and attacks the Revenger with his Claw. Due to Defender's Ward, he needs a 7 to hit. He is forced to boost the attack. The Feral rolls an 11 and the attack hits. Due to Defender's Ward and Forced Evolution, the attack hits at dice minus 2. He rolls a 5 and does 3 damage to column 3 of the Revenger. He attacks with his other claw. Rolling a 7, the attack hits. He rolls for damage, and rolls an 8, doing 6 damage to column 5 of the Warjack. He then bites the Revenger. Rolling a 9, the attack hits. The damage is dice minus 3. He rolls an 8, doing 5 damage to column 6, and crippling the shield. The Warpwolf is forced to attack again with his claw. He boosts the roll, and rolls a 16. The attack is now straight dice. He rolls a 5 and does 5 damage to column 5 of the Revenger. Forced once again to attack, the Feral strikes the Revenger, automatically hitting due to the movement systems being knocked out. He rolls a 9 and destroys the Warjack. The Skinwalkers activate and receive a press forward order. They charge the Repenter, just making it into reach range. They need a 6 to hit. The first Skinwalker rolls a 7 and hits. The damage is dice -5 and is boosted due to the charge. He rolls a 9 and does 4 damage to column 6 of the Repenter. The second Skinwalker attacks and rolls a 6. The attack hits and he rolls for damage. He rolls an 11 and does 6 damage to column 5 of the Warjack, leaving it with a crippled melee weapon. The Argus is forced to charge the Incinerator for 1 Fury. He needs a 6 to hit. He rolls a 10 and the attack hits. It's boosted due to the charge, and it hits at dice -5. He rolls an 8 and does 3 damage to the Incinerator. The second head attacks the Exemplar, also rolling a 10. He rolls for damage, and gets another 8, killing the Warrior. Laris advances 7 inches behind the Skinwalkers. Kea runs up ahead of Laris. She then casts Shadow Pack for 3 Fury. Protectorate of Menoth, turn 3. Krios gives the Crusader and the Repenter each 2 focus and keeps 3 on himself. The 2 Warjacks gain a focus from power up. Krios activates and uses his feat, Menoth's Wrath, knocking down all enemy models in his control range. He catches the entire Circle army in the feat. He moves up to Kea, ensuring he is within 5 inches to negate stealth. He spends 2 focus to cast Immolation on Kea, and due to her being knocked down, he hits on anything but double 1s. He rolls a 4 and the attack hits. He boosts the damage, hitting at dice -2. He rolls an 11 and Kea takes 9 points of damage. She transfers the damage to the Argus for 1 Fury, and the damage goes to Spiral 3, knocking out the body of the Argus. The Repenter gets close enough to negate stealth as well, and shoots his flamethrower at the knockdown Warlock. He rolls a 5 and the attack hits. He boosts the damage, rolling at dice -2. He rolls a 4 and does 2 damage to Kea, setting her on fire. The flamethrower also hits Laris. He rolls a 7 and the attack hits. The Repenter boosts damage, hitting at dice -2. It rolls an 11 and does 9 damage to Spiral 3 of Laris. The Crusader activates and charges the Feral Warpwolf. Due to him being knocked down, the Warjack automatically hits. The attack hits at dice +3 and is boosted due to the charge. It rolls a 9 and does 12 points of damage to Spiral 5 of the Feral. He spends a focus and attacks again. He rolls an 8 for damage and does 11 points of damage to the wolf, killing it. Kea reaves the 4 Fury from the dead Warpwolf. Circle Orboros, turn 4. On a 1 or 2, the fire on Kea goes out. The fire fails to go out and she takes a POW 12 damage roll. She takes 8 damage from the fire. Kea pulls 1 Fury from the Argus, leaving it with 1. The Argus takes a frenzy check, needing less than a 9. It fails and it attacks Krios. The Argus needs a 9 to hit, but rolls a 7 and misses. Kea spends a focus to shake knockdown. The Skinwalkers activate, giving up their movement to Shake Knockdown. The Skinwalker closest to Krios attacks him. He needs an 8 to hit. He rolls a 10 and the attack hits. The damage on the Warcaster is dice minus 4. He rolls a 3 and fails to damage the caster. Kea advances around Laris and gets up to Krios. She gets a flanking bonus from the Argus. She needs a 6 to hit him. She rolls a 10 and the attack hits. Kea boosts the attack and gets an extra die from flank. The damage is dice minus 5. She rolls a 17 and does 12 damage to the High Exemplar. Kea buys another attack. She rolls a 9 and the attack hits. Boosting once again, she rolls damage and rolls a 15, killing the Warcaster, resulting in a victory for Circle Orboros. For this after battle discussion, I'd like to focus on what I'd done with Menoth. They're an army that I'm fairly new with, so I'm actually turning to the community to help develop my strategy. So if you guys have any hints or tips, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Going into this battle, I knew I was going to be facing down an Alpha Strike, so I brought the Incinerators and the Revenger as a bit of a tar pit to try and slow that down. The other thing I needed to make sure of very early on was that my Crusader was in a safe position, as he was going to be vital to my damage basically the whole game. So I made sure he was protected behind the bush there. But going forward onto turn 3, I had forgotten that the Revenger's shield had repulse, and he was taken out by the Feral. Other than that, I feel like the game went fairly smoothly. I'm hoping next time to spread out my Exemplars a little bit more so that the Feral can't charge in and take out 2 of them, but it's something to always keep in mind that I need to space my units out just a little differently. If you guys enjoyed what you saw, please feel free to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.